Welcome to the Unraveled podcast. My name's Alina.
My name is Nina.
And I actually wanted to talk about negotiating your commission. So I was having a conversation with another agent this week, and he was telling me how basically he was going to list this house at 430, and he was only going to charge the seller a 4% commission because they needed to net 90K. And I said, hold on, why are you only charging them a 4% commission? And he was like, because they need to net this figure. And I was like, well, why do they need to net that amount? He was like, I don't know. That's just what they told me. And I was like, hold on. So you went into the appointment already telling them you're going to drop your commission by 4%. And you didn't even ask them why did they come up with this number?
Yeah.
And he was like, yep. And I was like, okay. So first, you never give your card up until you've exhausted all of your resources and you've had a thorough discussion. So the problem is you went ahead and gave them 4% commission. So you lost money on this deal before you before you've really assessed the situation. There's nothing wrong with reducing your commission or going down that low, but you didn't even fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
So not to mention, you're also helping them do numerous things outside of your scope of work, like helping them find a nursing home and helping them find a caretaker and all of these things. And not to mention the amount of work that you put in before you even got the listing, like going over to her house and helping her with things, which is great. That's just the personality that you have. But also like you didn't even try to negotiate your commission.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really interesting, but also the agent was still learning. So that's kind of why we talked about the situation a little more. And I told him what I would have done is I would have, one, figured out why they need 90K. Or they need 90K because this is some fictitious number they made up in their head, or they need 90K because this is how much they are expecting to cost the nursing home to cost. Like you've got to dig a little deeper, figure out what their problem is, because your goal is to solve those problems.
Yeah.
So if you can't solve those problems, then okay, I understand why you reduced it by 4%, because that's that's all you're able to do.
Yeah.
But you didn't try to do that first.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So, obviously commission, compensation, it's a big talking point right now. And there's times where, first and foremost, everything's negotiable, right?
Right.
But what a real estate agent or a realtor does, it is a service. It is convenience that somebody is paying for. They can choose not to pay for it, or they can choose to pay for it. In this case, it sounds like this agent's doing a lot of work. So they're very much like, if the agent wasn't there, this person would either have to hire probably multiple people to do the same job.
That's
and it's going to cost far more than, that amount. But, it's a tough thing because there are certainly some agents that do nothing and, in my opinion, are overpaid. But if someone is excellent and they're going out of their way like this agent was doing, they definitely deserve to be paid. And the argument goes back and forth, who should pay who, what's too much, what's too little, but problem solving. It's like, you go to the dentist to get your teeth cleaned. Why do you not just, do the surgery yourself? You got a cavity, just pull it out. Why not? Because I have no clue how to get it done. There's investors or people that have been purchasing and selling real estate for years and years and years. They could probably figure it out on their own, but that's because they've done it so many times. But the average person, they only buy and sell once, twice, maybe 3 times in their entire life. Point. And they don't know. So, again, is that 90,000 number the bottom line? In which case, then you're here to help people. That's okay.
Right.
But if it's not the bottom line, or, maybe they're mistaken on how much they have left on the mortgage. Just kind of getting.
You got to talk through that. But also, if this is just some fictitious number that they just threw out there, like the crazy thing is that what he would have made is only a $6,000 difference compared to what they wanted. But you're offering all of these extra services that are not even in your scope of work to help them out because you care. So you have to go to bat for yourself and your value. And the thing is you're friends with this woman. You've had a relationship with her. You've went over to her house and helped her fix things. Like, she already knows your value is there, but you didn't fight for it. first.
Yeah.
You gave it to them before they even asked for it.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like this agent's going to be phenomenal with how much care and effort they put into each thing. And this is something you learn over time through
Correct.
multiple experiences of being used and abused and not making any money. Like, what most people don't realize is that if an agent is really excellent, by the time you average out how many hours of work they put in versus what they're compensated after taxes, marketing costs, it's an hourly. There's the argument that, we should just pay agents hourly. Sure, let's do it. Because can you imagine
what the hourly rate would be?
Well, no, just imagine how much money agents would make if they were paid hourly versus based off of commission.
That's very true.
All the properties that we write offers on that never close. I mean, the amount of work we do that never equals actually a paycheck, we'd all be freaking millionaires.
That is so true.
But, again, I understand that there are some agents that don't do their job, but the agents that do their job are very much worth it,
And I've seen a lot of controversy with the whole NAR settlement. And I've seen it from the public, and I've also seen it from the agent standpoint. And it's been so interesting to see what the public thinks about it and kind of hearing their feedback. And some people have actually went to bat for agents, saying that, hey, they're actually worth what they charge. Well, they say a good agent is worth every dime, because you're not going to, here's the thing too. You can always get something done for cheaper. Like, that's just a reality. I could go to a plastic surgeon for $2,000 and have seen their work and it look like shit, or I can go to a plastic surgeon for $10,000 and have seen their work and it looks good.
Yeah.
The thing is do you want it done the right way and the best way, or do you want it done cheaply and the job not get done at all, and that you have to hire someone else to redo it because it didn't get done the first time too, because you wanted to spend less money.
And the bottom line is, if you don't want to hire an agent, then don't. Simple.
Agreed.
It's a service. It's like getting an Uber because you don't want to drive yourself.
Agreed.
You can always drive yourself. And I personally think this is a positive, generally for the industry, because it's going to make the bar higher. The great agents will continue to do well, and the agents either need to learn to do better or they'll be out of the industry. I think it probably negatively affects buyers the most, but I think that will resolve itself. There's probably going to be a lawsuit in the reverse. That's how it always goes. But when it comes to the commission, what people don't realize is what actually happens. Let's use an example of a $10,000 commission, right? So by the time you get that, a third goes out for taxes. Your broker fees goes out. All your marketing costs, time, gas, all that kind of stuff. Really, you're less than a third goes into your bank, if you're lucky. If all goes well and you didn't have to negotiate or anything like that.
Or come out of pocket yourself for any additional unexpected things.
But all people see is like, the $10,000 check, not realizing that it's far, far less than that. And, here in Athens, I think the average is like 7,000. So out of a 7, a third goes to taxes, broker fees, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So when you hire a 1% agent or a discount or, a different brokerage that charges you less, they're still making money. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business. So where are they taking that from? Well, they have to still pay taxes, right? They still have to pay the broker. So it's probably in their efforts and marketing costs. So your home is getting less exposure and probably getting a lower result.
And also their availability. Because I noticed with brokerages like that, you can't get anyone on the phone.
Yeah.
You're definitely not going to speak to anyone. Definitely not going to speak to anybody on the weekend when everybody's looking at homes.
Yeah.
So I think, forget a lot of the marketing and all the other stuff, but if there's no communication and no one could get a hold of them, I can't even get you an offer.
Yeah.
I've had that happen so many times where I couldn't get a hold of an agent and I could not submit an offer because of it.
Yeah. So many times. I mean, I could tell you 10 stories right now of where the buyer was ready to put in an offer. They loved the home, but we could not get someone to freaking answer the phone. They would not return a call, text, email, and the house was just sitting on the market. And I just wonder, does the seller realize that they could have probably sold their house by now
10 times over
for X amount more, but they're so stuck on, I don't want to pay that. But let's imagine if somebody got you $50,000 more. and you had to pay $5,000 more in commission, you're still netting $45,000 more.
Mhm.
So again, it all is personal preference. But if you're an agent and they want to negotiate with you, number one, you have to find out what is the actual situation, what are the numbers, but also know your information, know the market, be better,
know your
be
value.
more excellent,
Know your value, but also how to assert your value.
Yes. And, but actually mean what you say and do what you say you're going to do. Because if you just go in and you say all that, but then you won't actually do it, that does a disservice to your client and to the industry. So with this lawsuit coming to light, I mean, we all just need to level up. And I think it will be great for, people like you and me. Everything's going to continue on. Business will continue. I'm curious to see how it goes, but
I know, I am too.
Yeah, I see it so many times. 1%.
It's been so interesting just to see, like, just again, to see how agents are reacting to this huge change. It's really the newer agents that are like freaking out, like, how am I going to do business? There's buyer agents are leaving, but I'm like, and then all the other agents are like, nothing is changing.
No,
nothing's changing.
Because in the state of Georgia, the buyer brokerage agreement, we had to have that.
Yeah, but
right?
It's always been an option for either party to negotiate commission.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess,
doesn't mean that the agent's going to, but it doesn't mean that you don't have the right to say, hey, I want to, you can go to a doctor's office and say, hey, I don't want to pay this amount.
Yeah.
I want to negotiate. You can do that at any standpoint in time.
Yeah. The thing that drives me nuts, I will say, is I see some media outlets saying that, prices of homes are going to become more affordable. They're going to come down because of this. How? Can somebody please explain this to me?
That has nothing to do with agents and our commission. That has everything to do with interest rate.
But also, like, for example, Georgia, we're so behind in housing. We're years behind, when it comes to supply and demand. That's why prices are where they're at, because we don't have enough houses, because corporations buy houses. And, a home buyer is competing with a corporation that offers cash, no contingencies. That is so crazy to me that media outlets will just put out there that the houses are going to become cheaper. I had a client say, I don't want to buy a house. I'm going to rent for a year because houses are going to be cheaper next year. And who's telling you that? Oh, well, the news, blah, blah. Okay. I mean,
which is so like,
if it's true, tell me how. Like, explain to me practically. I'm a practical person. Give me the facts. How is it going to, because I want the market, I want the prices to adjust so things are more affordable for people, but we're not seeing that's going to happen at all. The only way that would happen is if either a bunch of homes are built, so we have an over amount of supply, or interest rates drop. But then if interest rate drops, prices will go up.
Correct.
So,
literally, that's literally exactly what happened during COVID. Yes, we want the housing prices to be lower, and yes, we want the interest rates to be lower, but neither of those two things are going to exist in the same realm. It's going to be either or, but realistically, you're going to be paying the same amount, whether the houses are higher or the interest rates are higher. So we can sit there and wait all day for the interest rates to go down or the housing prices to go down, and while you're sitting there waiting, you're sitting paying interest. You're sitting there renting and letting $20,000 go out the window every single year. Not month. Every single year in rent, when you're complaining about the interest rates and housing prices, when you could have used that same amount of money to use for a down payment on something cheap and simple, while you let that appreciate in value for you to buy your dream home or buy the next house and put that same money into it. It makes no sense. Like, when I hear people say, I'm going to wait, makes no sense to me, because you may not be able to purchase your dream home, but if you can purchase something small, it doesn't matter. Like, go for it, because rather, you don't have to put a single dime in that property. All you have to do is maintain it and keep it at the same standard that it was when you purchased it. And it could be worth another $20,000 year after year after year. So it makes no sense to wait.
And I literally had a conversation with another person about this, and it's funny, the $20,000, because they're talking about, I want to rent for a year, and I looked at a 3-bed, 2-bath in Athens, conservatively, very cheaply,
at least $1,800,
right? So I use $1,600 as an example. Like,
I'm like at least $1,800,
but then it's $20,000 a year. So the houses will not come down $20,000. Like, if we look at the average per year,
it's a good perspective.
There's no way the average home price will be down $20,000 in 1 year. There's no way at all.
Agreed.
So,
But they're going to appreciate, but
yeah,
it can appreciate by $20,000
yeah.
in 1 year.
So it's kind of like you're spending the $20,000 anyway that you're hoping to save. So the money will be gone regardless. Prices will probably be higher, and you're gonna be $20,000 in the hole.
And here's the crazy thing too: you're really going to not purchase real estate over $20,000, but also that $20,000 on a mortgage payment spread over 30 years is what, maybe an extra $20, maybe even an extra 50, depending on the interest rate and some other factors. But it's not even enough. It's not. Literally doesn't. It's not even enough to make that big of a decision and say, oh, I'm going to wait, and it not make sense. Like the minute I was able to purchase a house, I purchased a house. It took me 5 years because of the whole like income situation, but it was never a thought for me that I'm not going to purchase real estate if I'm capable of doing it.
Yeah, and call me a conspiracy theorist, but this NAR lawsuit, I think the people that it most negatively affects are home buyers, because they will have a harder time affording representation, or, in some cases they will go directly to the listing agent or to the seller and they won't have representation at all. So they're going to be purchasing property without representation, which could lead to a bunch of things. And I think the media, they are posting that, oh, it's going to cause the market to crash, it's going to cause prices to come down, it's a good thing. So people are like, oh yeah, it's a good thing, but actually they're the ones that are
losing.
So, but I could tell people all day, but if they don't see it for themselves, the first property I ever purchased was, but we got into it. We renovated the property. We put value back in, and it has more than doubled. It has more than doubled in a few years since we purchased it. And it's just your stepping stone into the market, because
Agreed.
The appreciation is the advantage. Now, you can't overpay. There's certain things and guidelines you have to follow.
Right.
But
I don't think people truly realize the value in real estate. Like you can literally purchase a property, do nothing to it, and it appreciate in value year after year after year. I mean, you do need to maintain it or it'll depreciate in value. But it's just crazy to me how you can purchase something and it be worth, millions later.
Yeah.
My grandfather purchased it was an interesting property in New York. It had like 2 units on the top, and then there was like 2 basement units. I don't even know maybe like a quad play. I don't know. But it was attached to another side, but you buy each side separately. So he had owned that house for years and years and years. By the time we inherited it, it was already paid off. But he purchased it for $50,000. $50,000. We sold it for $700K.
Yeah. And again, if you look over,
and it was still the same old house that he purchased back in the 1900s. We didn't do anything to it. He never did anything to it when he lived in there. And that's how much it appreciated in value over time.
And, I hear people say, when I try to tell them that, or on social media, oh, well, you're a realtor. Of course you're going to say that. Listen, with love and respect, I do not care if you buy or you don't buy. Agreed. I really, truly don't, because I have a great business. I have clients that trust what I tell them. I'm just trying to educate people and let them know
that's our job.
They could have an advantage, if they chose to. But I'm not here trying to convince you to buy so I can get a commission. No, like I will be fine. But I see people just, oh, I'm not going to listen to you because you're a realtor. That's okay. Then don't. Then rent forever, because rents are going up every day.
This is true.
And honestly, rents are.
And so are houses. So which one are you going to do?
Oh, but the market's going to crash. I have a client that back when the rates were like 2.5%, 3%, they're like, oh, we want to wait till the rates go down. Rates go down. Rates go down.
That phase. And I was like, are you kidding me? They will never be this low again. Never be this low.
Nope.
And now 2-3 years later, they're at 6 to 8%.
Yeah. And I told her, I said, look at the last 3 years. Every time you told me the rates would go down, they went up. They went up. Sure. Will they potentially fluctuate between a 7 and a 4 within our lifetime? Probably. That's probably the range we're going to see. Will they ever go back down to unlikely? Technically, do we have a crystal ball? No. But statistically.
But we can see the trends to know that it takes a pandemic to get them that low. And how often are we going to have a pandemic? Never.
So, I mean, that's the thing. I think there's so many talking points on this. And I'm just There's been many buyers lately that are thinking I'm trying to trick them. And I immediately say, I don't think we're a good fit because I'm really not trying to convince anybody to do anything. I can tell you what I've seen works for other clients, how they've made money. A client of mine, they bought a house 2 years ago. Now they're selling it. They're making $250,000 profit,
I
tax
love that.
free because it's
Love
been their
that.
primary residence 2 of the last
Mm,
5 years. Imagine if they didn't buy. So now they have an additional $250,000 of free appreciation. So sure, they had to pay the mortgage, keep up, but you would have to pay rent anyway. So it's kind of like,
and make no money out of that.
but then these are going to be the same people that will complain that, oh, other people have advantages. It's unfair. Other people made choices. They took risks and they saw opportunity. That's what actually happened.
That's true.
So,
That is true. Well, I really enjoyed this discussion, especially with all the commotion going on today with the settlement. But I think that will wrap up for today's episode. You can definitely find us on YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts, really anywhere that you watch podcasts. We would love for you to subscribe and join us every Wednesday at 5:30 when we release 5:30 a.m. That's when we release our episode.
thanks for watching.
Bye.